Time now for Morning Rounds with CBS News Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. John LaPook and CBS News contributor Dr. Holly Phillips. First up, actress and singer Rita Wilson revealed she is recovering from a double mastectomy. The wife of Tom Hanks says a second opinion helped spot her breast cancer early. Holly, Rita Wilson says that the first pathologist she went to did not diagnose her with cancer. And she's posted on Facebook that, quote, a second opinion is necessary and vital, not just by another doctor, but by another pathologist. Is this good advice?
I do think it's really good advice, and I also like the way she emphasized the important role pathologists play in this whole process. Often women, when they're faced with a cancer diagnosis, will go and get a second opinion either from the surgeon or from the oncologist. We forget that the pathologist is actually the person who, in large part, directs the rest of the care. When a woman is facing a cancer diagnosis, she usually has a biopsy of the breast, and then the pathologist's job is to look at that tissue under a microscope and determine whether there's cancer there or not cancer there. But there's also a gray area in the middle where it's a little bit subject to opinion, and that's when a second opinion is really, really vital.
So what was her diagnosis? I mean, because it seems like the double mastectomy is obviously an aggressive solution.
Sure, it is. We don't have all of the details of her diagnosis, of course, but we do know she was given the diagnosis of invasive lobular cancer, which was early stage. So her cure rate in this case would be about 98%. Now, there are other less invasive ways to treat the cancer. She could have had a lumpectomy, where you just remove the cancerous cells from the breast, or a single mastectomy, where you just take the breast that's affected, or a double mastectomy. And in all cases, sometimes you follow up with radiation and medication. But it's a very personal decision and one that you have to make with your doctor.
Well, up next, a recent study found a new treatment for epilepsy is showing great promise. John?
This new treatment uses a marijuana extract. While this was an early trial, the researchers found it could help curb seizures for those with severe epilepsy.
You're going to go to school.
From age 1, Hank Kovacs suffered from severe epilepsy that could not be controlled with medicine. His mother, Megan, says in one day he could have more than 25 seizures.
I thought he was playing in the other room. He was not playing in the other room. He was convulsing, turning blue, and that's when I thought I lost him.
He's been such a good boy, getting them all hooked up.
Last summer, she eagerly enrolled her son in a small trial designed to see if medical marijuana could help. Twice a day, Hank receives a marijuana liquid extract called Epidiolex. The medicine does not contain THC, the ingredient that can cause euphoria, anxiety, and paranoia. Megan says the change has been dramatic.
We instantly saw results. He was smiling again. We noticed the decrease in seizures. He was able to transition. And at this point, he was finally able to gain cognitive skills.
137 children and young adults, average age 11, were given the drug. After 12 weeks, parents reported the number of seizures declined 45 to 50%. Dr. Linda Locks of Lurie Children's Hospital in Chicago is one of the researchers.
Some of the kids clearly became more verbal, better coordination. I had one child who started walking while they were using the medications.
Where's Harold the helicopter?
Hank's epilepsy was so severe, at age 7, he still cannot speak. But he's able to attend school and has not had a seizure in months.
My goal for him is to hear his voice, to hear him talk. We just want him to be happy.
Such a great outcome for that family. Right. What do you see as the next step?
Well, more research, larger trials, and they need to be placebo-controlled. That's very, very important. And then over time, as we learn more and more, we can find out the exact dosage that's needed to be used. Because right now, it's kind of been up in the air about, exactly how do we give this medicine. Now we'll have some real science.
Next up, a new report finds e-cigarette use is skyrocketing among middle and high school students. We've talked a lot about e-cigarettes here on Morning Rounds, Holly, and this is actually something we were worried about.
Very much so, and skyrocketing is the right term. When you look at just 1 year of e-cigarette use in high school students, in 2013, that number was 4.5% of high school students using. In 2014, it went up to 13.4%. Same thing in middle school students. E-cigarette use more than tripled during that period of time. In fact, e-cigarette use has surpassed the use of all other tobacco products by kids and teens, including regular cigarettes.
It's not hard to believe when you consider the flavors they're marketing, but I'm curious, are those flavors adding any additional chemicals?
Yeah, they are. And there's an author named James Pankow, Dr. Pankow, and from Portland State University, he and his colleagues took a look at 30 samples, sort of from the liquid that's used in the e-cigarettes or in the refills. And they said, what chemicals are there? And they found a bunch of chemicals, including a chemical class called aldehydes. Now, aldehydes can be toxic to the lungs when inhaled. These are felt to be, by some people, well, they're safe. They're just food coloring. They're just additives. But that's when you eat it. It's really not known what happens when you smoke it. And specifically, Dr. Pankow said to me, if you like cherry and vanilla, those are ones that typically tend to have compounds that are like aldehydes and can be irritating.
New research at Duke University is shedding light on a possible cause of Alzheimer's disease. The findings could pave the way for new drug treatments. John, what did this new research uncover?
This was such elegant research out of Duke University. I spoke to one of the authors. You know, we talk about amyloid, which is this gooey stuff that's on top of nerves, and that causes plaque, and we talk about tau, which is an abnormal protein inside of nerve cells. And we thought, well, that's kind of the story. Well, then now there's something else. There are these supportive cells in the brain called microglia. And they're important, for one thing, in dampening down immune reactions, so kind of throwing water on when there's too much immunity. And it turns out that there is a amino acid called arginine. Remember that from biochemistry? Well, not really. Arginine
I wasn't paying attention. I don't think I'm that class.
Well, if you had more arginine, arginine is important for the health of nerves, and especially nerves in the brain. So it turns out that these microglia cells make something called arginase. Arginase is an enzyme that lowers the level of arginine. And in this mouse model of Alzheimer's disease, they found out that the arginase levels went up from the microglia, the arginine levels went down, and you had plaque, you had development of nerve death and trouble in terms of symptoms of Alzheimer's, memory problems in these mice. And incredibly, when you gave something to block this arginase, then you could prevent the development of the Alzheimer's, of the plaque, and of the memory loss. So a lot of work to be done, but I find it so interesting that they went to something totally different, and you're going to be hearing a lot more of this term, microenvironment. What's going on nitty-gritty at the level of the inside of the brain, at the nerves, at the connective tissues? What's going on there that we really don't know about yet? Fascinating stuff.
That's why we like science class with John.
Yeah.
Finally this morning, dogs are man's best friend, and thanks to a new study, we know why. Research released this week suggests that eye contact between man and canine companions help to secure a dog's place in the human heart. They're like babies.
Very much so. It actually comes down to a hormone in the brain called oxytocin. When you lock eyes with the dogs, their levels of oxytocin rise, as do the humans. It's a feel-good hormone. It's released in times of bonding between mothers and children and between partners, and apparently between species as well.
And I love it that it's between species, and the authors talk about that fact that what's so interesting is it's not just among humans, it's for two different species. It's kind of like the dogs have hijacked this mechanism, said, we're going to get some of that loving too.
All right, Dr. John LaPook, Dr. Holly Phillips, thanks so much.